exciting. Welcome to the first episode of Trash Takes. I'm Andrew Nicotra. You can call me Coach. My co-host, Al Hill. He's a normal human being, so you can call him Al.
Yeah, normal human being, absolute degenerate.
Got a lot of stuff we want to talk about. It's been years of arguing back and forth with so many people, so many different topics. So finally have an outlet. A lot of recent stuff going on in sports, in baseball. And one of the biggest things is probably one of my favorite players of all time, and I've been talking about it for years, so I feel like I'm ahead of the curve. And that's Albert Pujols.
Bro.
So his wife announced recently, basically spilled the beans that he's done after this year. They're trying to cover it up now, but then everybody just going on and reflecting on his whole career. And I've been trying to talk about how he's like one of the greatest players to ever exist, and no one's listening to me. So
yeah, because you got some trash takes, bro. They ain't good.
I'm here.
Bro, this guy's a freak. I don't understand how, we took him for granted for so. It's the same, the Miguel Cabrera effect on this guy.
Life.
And
Yeah.
I think most of it is.
But he's better. He's better. Okay, if Miguel Cabrera had the Triple Crown, obviously.
Yeah, but dude, that season was nuts. Nah, but I mean, I think we took him for granted because his teams were just fucking. He went to the Angels, and that's just a pit of despair.
I feel like the only time that people were giving Albert Pujols credit was when everybody was using him in like MVP baseball in 2004. Him and Manny Ramirez, and that's about it.
Busted.
But like the biggest thing, and I was making the point to a lot of people, was the consensus best player in the world right now is Mike Trout.
Yep, not
the
close.
Best player in baseball for the last 10 years.
Not close.
Mike Trout. Yeah. So, and then you can go further and say, if he continues with this trajectory, he's the best player of all time, no matter who played. You look at the numbers, and Albert Pujols was better than Mike Trout in his first 10 years.
Yeah.
Clearly better.
Yeah, no, he walked into the league and hit 329, 37, and 130. That's just inhuman. That's just not okay.
Yeah,
and he stole a
I'm
base.
pretty sure that's the most RBIs. Wait, what?
And he stole a base. One.
He stole one back. That's going to be the separator, I guess. That's the separator because I think Trout came into the league like swiping 49 bags.
Yeah,
like
bro,
it was nothing. But
bro, he's been like 30-30 almost every year. Some nonsense.
Yeah, but outside obviously the speed, but we look at batting average, we look at the slugging, we look at the home runs, we look at RBIs, we look at whatever you want to look at, and Albert Pujols is there the entire way. I mean, you had a lot of steroid abusers around him that maybe masked it so people weren't paying attention, but what we were watching as kids growing up was pretty ludicrous. I mean,
yeah, and
insane.
Growing up in the market that we grew up in, we're both from New York, so it was always going to be about the Yankees and the Mets, and I mean, obviously the Yankees had super teams since the 90s. So for me growing up, it was not necessarily about the Cardinals because they're the Cardinals, and now I've grown to appreciate the individual players more. And looking back at the stat line like this, I wish I had paid more attention to it as it was happening, because I mean, 30. Looking at it now, the first season he had less than 30 home runs was 2013 for the Angels, and he came into the league in 2001. So his first 12 seasons, he hit at least 30 home runs, and the first time his average was under 300 was 2011. So he had
11. So that was his first year.
10 consecutive seasons to start his career over 330 home runs.
But do you remember the conversations? That the one thing I do remember is when he signed with the Angels, and his first year, 2011. First thing that comes to mind, I'm pretty sure he batted 295, 30 home runs, and 95 RBIs, if I have that right.
His first year with the Angels, 285, 30, 105.
Got it. So everyone looked at him like, he's washed. He had that season. I'd pay so much money for any player in the Mets. I mean, not that they haven't pulled this off in the past, but I'm saying down the lineup to have this type of season, and people were like, "Yo, this guy's a trash can." I don't even know why they even employ him. Like they made it seem like it was.
I think the biggest thing still. So like at that point, right? He's 32. At that season in particular, he was 32. And what was his contract? Do you remember his Angels contract? I'm
10
gonna look it up
years,
now.
$500 billion.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up now because
Outside of Alex Rodriguez, that was like the first big long term where
10
everyone was like,
years,
"Well, what are the Angels
240
doing?"
million. So at that point, right, like that's obvious. You can't call that a bad season because he's hitting 285, 30, 105. But
Yeah,
comparatively, when you're talking, it's the Miguel Cabrera effect. For years we said, oh, it's a Miggy being Miggy when he hit 340 and 40 homers,
yeah,
120 RBIs because he's the best hitter in baseball for 8 years in a row. In that period, we
yeah.
had the period now where it's Albert Pujols, and then immediately after him was Miguel Cabrera, and now obviously it's Mike Trout. But that period in the middle was Miggy being Miggy, and it was Albert Pujols being so unbelievable that we came to expect that greatness, and we neglected 285, 30, 105 as a down
We're still
season,
doing
which is
it. We're still doing it with
absurd.
Mike Trout.
Oh
Like
yeah, no.
I know we crown him
Mike
player in the world, but
had there
we
have
still
been there
do
have
it.
been other players who've won MVPs, correct? Like not in between the Mike Trout seasons where it should have been Mike
Yeah,
Trout, but because Mike Trout had won
yeah.
MVP the last season, it was the same. It's the same thing in basketball with LeBron James, where LeBron is very clearly the best player in the league for however long, and then we stopped giving him MVPs because
Right.
it's a given that
There's a
LeBron should
lot
win
though.
MVP.
There's a lot though because they don't want to give it to, or they're hesitant, I should say, to give it to somebody who's on an absolutely garbage team.
Yeah.
Winning 74 games, whatever like that. But listen, it's MVP awards, so it's like most valuable player. Basically, what they're saying is, yeah, they might have won 78 games, but if you took Mike Trout off the team, they might have won 50. You know what I mean? Like,
there is no way that I can't. They would have to be a 100 loss team without Mike Trout, right? Every season.
Yeah. Oh no. Now, one of the things that we were going to get to, and I don't mind, is talking about how garbage the Mariners president is. And basically how terrible that organization's been over decades, not because of the lack of winning in season, but the fact of who they've had and how much they've lost or not won anything. The Angels might be there now when we're talking about you constantly have the best player in the world every single year on the year, and you basically say, who needs to pitch? Let's just try to win game 12-10. And it's not working.
Despicable, dude. The waste of a career that they have given to Mike Trout. Yeah.
Who was the biggest contract they gave him pitching? Was like C.J. Wilson or something like that?
No, oh my
god. That was just
an
albatross.
Didn't they sign Cole Hamels after the Rangers let him go? Wasn't that like their big end all be all? Was they signed Albert Pujols and Mike Trout in like one off, or not Mike Trout? They signed Pujols and Cole Hamels in one off season. Wasn't that a thing? I could have sworn they signed Cole Hamels like immediately after the Rangers when he was like still considered good, and then he was atrocious. No.
Well, they had
definitely wrong.
Was it Jeff Weaver?
Who did they? Jeff Weaver. No, Jared Weaver. Jeff Weaver was the Yankee.
They really don't do.
Atrocious. They don't do anything. I don't understand.
No. They think they can just hit to the moon. I mean, they get Anthony Rendon. They're adding that to Trout. I mean, Pujols is obviously in the back nine, but like they had Pujols in the lineup. They had some good guys. Cole Calhoun, before he lost his eyesight, I guess, and couldn't hit a volleyball if I threw it at him, used to slug the ball over the fence too. But
yeah,
they don't have any. I guess they don't put any importance into pitching, and it shows. It was like the Orioles for a while too. They just had screw it. Give me 6.
Yo, I was actually talking about this with my uncle the other day because he brought up. My uncle's worked in sports for his whole life, and he was talking the other day about how one of the Tigers World Series or something, he was stuck in the city for like Superstorm Sandy, and he was trying to get out but the game went too long, and it brought up something for me. I'm sure you remember this because I went on a absolute fucking rampage about the Tigers teams that should have won 4 consecutive World Series and not lost a game in the playoffs. That team lost a wild card game Lost a wild card game with the roster they had. Keep in mind they had prime Justin Verlander, prime Max Scherzer in their rotation, so either one of them could have gone. You should never lose a playoff game with Justin Verlander. That should be illegal. They lost a wild card game to the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah.
Oh,
What year was that?
I couldn't tell you, but they were. You can't lose.
The Orioles. You remember the run though that the Orioles did, where they stacked up. You know, they had J.J. Hardy, Nelson Cruz, Pedro Alvarez, Chris Davis, like all batting back to back to back to back, and they used to hit the cover off the ball.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was a wild card series. They got swept 3-0 in. My apologies. They didn't just lose one wild card game. They got swept 3-0. Oh my God, they're an embarrassment. Let me see.
Tough. That had to be division.
It was in the ALDS.
Division series. What year is that?
2014. Let me
Yeah.
give
So,
you,
but
let me give you a 2014 Tigers. What?
If it was on the Orioles, that's not that bad.
The Orioles swept the Tigers, dude.
Yeah. And then that was the year Trout also made the playoffs with the Angels. The Orioles and Angels had 90+ wins.
Let me give you a rundown of this team. Not even gonna bother with pitching because it's gross. Prime Miguel Cabrera, good Ian Kinsler, MVP candidate Victor Martinez on the infield. The rest, I mean, I don't know what like Castellanos. Yeah, cool. In the outfield, Rajay Davis, Torrey Hunter.
Martinez on the team too?
What?
Wasn't JD Martinez on the team?
He's an outfielder, brother. Rajay Davis, Torrey Hunter, Austin Jackson, JD Martinez. These are all impressive names. Don't understand how they didn't win everything. And then you go to their rotation, and Joe Nathan, who was like an incredible closer for the Twins like 2 years before that. They had good Rick Porcello. This is the one that I forgot. They had David Price. Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Rick Porcello. I can't. How? Like, what are you doing? Anibal Sanchez. Anibal Sanchez was their 5. Anibal Sanchez was their 5.
He's an incredible playoff pitcher.
They got swept 3-0. Let me see if I. Oh, dude, they got.
But look at the Orioles. I can't speak for the rotation. But look at the lineup for the Orioles, and I'm pretty sure went like J.J. Hardy, Manny Machado, Adam Jones, Chris Davis, Pedro Alvarez, and Nelson Cruz. I'm pretty sure they were all batting back. If you have to pitch, I don't care who you are. You can be Randy Johnson.
JD Martinez.
You're looking at their lineup and you're ready to retire.
I'm looking.
That's rough.
I can't believe this team is this team lost the way they did. Dude, no. So I'm looking at
Give me the one.
Game one. Max Scherzer 0-1. They come back. Game 2. I actually don't have a starter here because they gave up 4 runs, bottom 8, to lose 7-6. They had a 3-run lead. They brought in Joakim Soria and he blew it. And then they go to game 3, and David Price, playoff Price, gives up two runs in the 6th, and they lost 2-1. What a
But the Orioles lineup, dude, that was the Orioles' tough lineup. That was the Blue Jays' tough lineup, right? Wasn't that the Troy Tulowitzki, Prince Fielder, Adrian Beltre,
2014 Orioles,
Edwin Encarnacion, Jose Bautista?
2014 Orioles roster. There we go. I don't have a lineup here, but I'm looking at Chris Davis, J.J. Hardy, Manny Machado, Steve Pearce, Jonathan Scope. And then in the outfield, they had Nelson Cruz, Adam Jones, Nick Markakis, Delman Young is the defensive replacement guy. Matt Wieters behind the plate.
Nelson Cruz led the league in home runs that year.
Probably.
And he immediately got popped for PED.
I was gonna say I'm convinced that guy's on roids. He definitely is.
He was on roids. He got popped.
Was he? Yeah.
All that aside, that was the year. So it's funny we brought it up. And talking about Mike Trout, I'm pretty sure that was Mike Trout's only playoff berth at all.
2014.
and they got swept by the Royals.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we have
yeah.
not seen Trout back.
They did. They did indeed get 3-0'd by the Royals. 3-2,
That was 7
4-1,
years ago.
8-3.
7 years ago, and it was the only time we saw the best player in baseball in a playoff game.
Let's find out what kind of pitching rotation they were there.
Oh no, it wasn't good.
That is not a starter.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a good time.
Dude, their starting pitching did really well. The first 2 games went to the 11th, and they gave up 1 run or 2 runs and then 1 run in the first 9. In the first
if I'm
2
a
games.
fan, then I'm.
So their starting pitching
off.
wasn't the issue. I mean, game 3 they got blown out 8-3, so they got smoked. CJ Wilson got absolutely destroyed. Oh, shocker! Mike Trout and Albert Pujols homered in that game, and they got smoked. Yeah. I don't understand what that team did. It looked like, I remember thinking that the Angels. This is the weirdest memory I'm gonna bring up. But I remember being at J&R Steakhouse and seeing the news that they had signed CJ Wilson, and I was like, this is going to be a problem because Mike Trout and Albert Pujols and CJ Wilson, and I think they had one other starter that was probably noticeable. And didn't they have somebody closing who was good at baseball and not awful?
Yeah. I mean, he was okay.
They definitely had
Frieri?
I'm looking through their list now. I don't see anybody crazy. Rest in peace.
Well, the bottom line is,
rest in peace, Tyler Skaggs. Houston Street couldn't have been him.
No, the bottom line is they never piece it together with pitching from top to bottom, starting, relief, whatever. They have Hansel Robles as their closer. I don't even need to speak on that anymore. But to reel it back in, locally, New York. I know, obviously, my take on where the Mets are heading and how exciting it is. But I'm curious because you're a Yankee fan.
Yankee fan. To be fair, I don't think I really hate the Mets. I think you'll agree with this, that I'm not gonna be I'm not one that's like, fuck the Mets. Like, they're never going to, like. I feel like I give legitimate input on what the Mets do and how their moves affect their team and what their future looks like.
Yeah, and I'm the complete opposite. I hate everything your team ever does.
Yeah, I'm well aware. See, for me, right? Fuck the Red Sox. I wish nothing but pain and despair for all of your fans. I hope Fenway burns down immediately after I go there because I want to visit it, obviously.
I've been there.
Yeah, but I hate everything that ever happened to that team. And you're that way in terms of Mets, in terms of the Yankees, coming from a Mets perspective.
Yeah, like, I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy that can, Mets are out of it, Yankees are in it, and they're going to make a run. I'm not guy to say, I hope they win for New York. Nope. I hope they get blown out 16, 17 runs, historical bad. Like, to the point where they have to contemplate, are we even a baseball team heading into the following season? If that happens, I'm a happy guy. I mean, you can ask any of the Yankee fans, you ask yourself, obviously you've seen me react. I just am not one of those guys. But I want to ask, both with this offseason and where it's heading, how do you feel about how the Yankees are set up, what they did, and what they'll try to pull off this year?
The Yankees? I mean, yeah, I think it's... I don't think there's... So, I'm sure that everybody's going to sit here and be like, but the Rays, because, they were in the World Series, it's easy to say that. But I can't imagine another team winning the AL East because I'm sure the Rays probably... I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure the Rays have already decided to cut costs because that's what they do every year. They get to I don't think the Rays have ever or will ever make an attempt to win. They just kind of fall into winning.
They'll accept it. Yeah, they'll take what happens, but they're not really going to make this push to win. And
it's like they luck into 95 wins. As weird as that is, they just kind of like
no. They're using an analytical department that helps them out. Like they're making smart moves with absolutely zero resources. But they're basically doing what what I've been suffering as a Met fan my entire life before Steve Cohen, is that no matter how well things are going, you're like, oh, we're that one piece, two piece away.
Piece
If you can get that free agent that's on the market, they'll look it dead in the eye and say, absolutely not. In fact, well, let's take it one step further. We'll get rid of our best player just because I ain't paying him.
So that's what I was getting at. Was I'm sure the Rays at this point have already released one or two major pieces from their run last year and are going to regress because that's what the Rays always do. The Rays get to a point, and then if they don't win the World Series that year, they're back into mediocrity for the next 10. The Red Sox are in a state of disarray. God help the Red Sox. Don't help the Red Sox. They don't.
They're gonna hit.
They don't deserve it. What other team is in the AL? Is it just 4 teams in the AL East? Right,
Yankees, Blue Jays, Orioles, Red Sox.
Oh, the Orioles don't even get a mention. That team.
They're not a real baseball team, but but they're gonna hit too.
Was that picture that I sent you the other day? Was that the Orioles with the 0% chance to win or to win the division? Yeah. No, so there was some kind of graphic from some. It might have been the MLB official Twitter account that had a graphic on it with each team's percentage of chance to win their division, and the Orioles before the season had started were at 0.0%. So without having played a single game, they were already being counted out completely of winning the division. At other teams, like the Royals had like a 0.3%, because technically as of this moment they have a chance to win the division, correct?
Yeah, basically if you're alive
Orioles don't.
and are going to field the team. If you're going to field the team for 162, you technically should have a percent, like some percentage chance to win the World Series.
The Orioles don't. That's how bad they are. So they don't get a mention.
The Pirates are in the same boat.
Blue Jays, the Pirates. Got them.
Blue Jays making moves.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are a problem. Something else that we wanted to bring up later was the fact that I just saw recently Vladimir Guerrero Jr. lost 40 pounds, and I'm sure that means he's also going to add 40 home runs to his stat total from last year. So that's
we're out of the camp of be heavier, more power type of thing, right? I mean, maybe it works for pitchers, but CC
and Prince Fielder.
That's not
don't you disrespect Prince Fielder? Oh, Prince. Bring up another one. Prince Fielder was another player on those Tigers teams at one point. Yeah.
Definitely had to cover off the ball.
Good Prince Fielder. Like 320, 40 home runs, 130 RBIs was on that team, and they still couldn't win.
Exploded.
Yeah, before he died.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
The thing with Vlad, I think the weight drop does help because another player that I'm expecting a huge season from, and it's a big difference from last year to this year, is Pete Alonso. And I think you're going to get more of his rookie year than you did last year, which was still not as bad as everyone's making it out to be, including myself. He was still on pace to put the ball over the fence 40-plus times, but he was a fat slob. So that there's no two ways to put. You would think that would help his game. He's a power guy.
I really think there were certain players that just didn't take last season seriously, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
Pete Alonso was one of them.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso was one of them. He showed up very heavy, and there were fans like, it don't matter. He's the polar bear. If he's heavy, he's going to hit more home runs. It was not the case. When he's more athletic, he's going to perform better as an athlete. I think that's going to go for everybody. There's obviously a stigma. It's like baseball. You don't have to be in shape at a certain position like that. No, it's bullshit. Like we're seeing it. You show up out of shape, you're going to see those results. But he's going to have a big season. He deleted all his social media, so that's a wrap. All his focus is on baseball.
That's good.
Wins MVP. See you later. But for me, the reason why I asked you, though, how you like the Yankees offseason is because I'm being honest with you as a Met fan, and obviously a Yankee hater. That was very Mets-esque of the Yankees offseason.
Yeah, I think I would assume what they're assuming is all the pieces are there, and if they stay healthy, they're way better. I think you're also underestimating Luis Severino looked like he looked like an ace when he was healthy, and then he exploded. And so I mean, I think they're really putting all their chips into Domingo Germán coming back off his egregious suspension, and I wish terrible things on him as a person, but God, I hope he pitches well, as the Yankee fan, obviously.
Yeah, no, listen,
and
again,
then
even his own players said the same
and then
shit. You know.
Severino. I mean, you add those two guys to a rotation that already has Garrett Cole and Jameson Tyone now, and suddenly that becomes a much improved rotation. I mean, immediately. And the bullpen's always been there. The bullpen has never been the problem, as long as they manage it properly.
But
And they're gonna.
let me tell
Everybody knows
you,
they're gonna score runs.
no, of course. But let me tell you why I think it's a Mets type offseason. So you're right, there's pieces in play. But there's a few things that as a Met fan I gotten used to. Like this was the mindset you had to go into the season with. And going back to 2015, 2016, when we were actually a good team, right? It's basically they put a team together that if everything goes right, if everything goes the way it possibly could in the positive direction, okay, yes, you are the team to beat, or you're going to get to the World Series. You'd be that team. It goes right, and we know in sports over 162, when the hell does everything go right like that?
Oh, you're right.
So you guys made two moves that speak out to. So you retained your own player, and that got dragged out as if it was like this huge acquisition. Meanwhile, it was a no-brainer move that every one of your fans knew that day one had to happen. But whatever, it was a great team-friendly contract, and that's a big win for Cashman, Yankee fans, whatever. DJ LeMahieu, great hitter.
Yeah.
But we all thought it should have happened in the first 30 minutes of free agency. So
yeah, it shouldn't have
but
been.
All that aside, the two moves that scream Mets to me, or old Mets, Wilpon era Mets, is Corey Kluber and Jameson Tyone. And the reason why
it's all upside.
Corey Kluber is coming off of that injury. He's throwing 88 miles an hour, and you're basically saying, yeah, but if he's like old Corey Kluber, and you're going to Jameson Tyone, like, yeah, well, if he stays on the field, we have done that for so long. Instead of just cashing in on the sure thing, because you guys didn't even call up Trevor Bauer. You didn't even ring him. You didn't send him a text message to Rachel Luba or whatever her last name is.
You forget that I'm a Jets fan, and I've seen these exact issues previously.
But as a Yankee fan, that's never been your world. It's always been, where's the guy? Go get the guy. What's our issue? Fix our issue with our guaranteed thing. It's not this roll the dice because we didn't want to we didn't want to get into a negotiation of spending too much money or whatever it might be. This is not something you were used to, and it's literally screaming Mets for me. I'm not saying it won't work out, because the one Mets thing is that if it can go wrong, it will go wrong, and that's not always the way with the Yankees, unless it's injury list, obviously. But it totally could work out. Kluber might come out and be like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm what I was, whatever like that. But this reminds me of Brody Van Wagenen 2 years ago, last year, getting us Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha and be like, deepest rotation in sports. Like, and us actually eating it up. Like, yeah, wow. Rick Porcello is 2016. That's gold. If Michael Wacha can
Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha,
that's gold.
Deepest rotation and deep. We're gonna stash them really, really deep in the rotation.
In baseball.
See, if you had already had five in place, and those were 6 and 7, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. No, if that was the case, but they ended up being in the rotation, but we got sold. Hey, you got a former Cy Young on your team. Don't pay attention to the fact that he had a 6 ERA the year before, but he had a former Cy Young. Like Michael Wacha can't stand the field. No, trust him. So, but the Yankees kind of took that direction with taking a Kluber, looking at a Jameson Tyone, because you are crossing your fingers and saying, I hope so. And I feel like that's not what normally comes out of a Yankee offseason. So I'm not saying they might win 100 games again. I'm not saying they don't. But it's a weirder offseason for me. And on the other hand, the Mets had a great offseason that I'm very, very happy with.
Yeah, so I mean, to finish, I guess we're gonna finish my Yankees outlook. I mean, I would assume you got it. I mean, if you're not gonna sit here and do your anti-Yankee bias here, you gotta put them as AL East favorites, right?
No, I'll agree.
They're AL East favorites, right?
Yeah, yes, but because of the team that they had before we even went into free agency. Mm-hmm. Now, here's what I'll also say. Your biggest acquisition had nothing to do with anything the Yankees did at all. It's the fact that every bit of your competition besides the Blue Jays, and I just don't think they're there yet, but every other part of your competition, in my eyes, got worse, right? The Indians were constant playoff threats. Not that you guys had a problem.
Yeah,
the Rays, who are just in the World Series, have only gotten worse. So the Yankees got better, or their playoff outlook, series aspirations got better because of what the other teams haven't done or have been subtracting, not so much what the Yankees are doing. So I think, yes, you guys will be in a good position like before, but I don't know. I just felt like there was a good chance for them to really take that
Yeah, I think
big step, and they didn't.
I think you're right. I think, being realistic, the Yankees are going to be AL's favorites. They'll probably make another. I mean, you can't count out the team that was already in place, and if, like you said, if everything goes right, they're definitely improved. And you assume that they make it to the ALDS. They probably win the ALDS. How clean that is, you never know. You get to
Well,
the
especially if you play the
ALCS,
Twins.
and at that point, who the hell knows? I've seen them lose
If
ALCS
you
after
play the Twins,
ALCS.
that's a guarantee.
Yeah, God, please, yeah, give me the Twins in the LDS, please. We can,
Wait, is it
3-0 and a
is
handshake,
it wait,
walk
wait, wait,
away.
wait. Wait, is it they haven't won a playoff series in 18 years, or is it a playoff game?
No, I think against the Yankees, they're like 0-17 in their last 17 playoff games or something.
No. But I think in general, in 18 years, I don't think they've won.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Oh yeah, they're bad. Bad news.
Yeah, no, I'm well, dude. Listen, we all know what happens when the Yankees play the Twins. Okay.
Yeah, that's a shoo-in. It's annoying too.
It's fantastic. I fucking love it, dude. Sit here and I don't even have to watch
Twins.
the game.
Twins set the home run record. Twins set their home run record. They won a ton of games that, like, what was it, 3 years ago, 2018, and they met you guys, and I was excited for them to try to bounce. And
postseason. So Twins postseason results. Lost last year in the wild card to the Astros 2-0. Lost the year before that. Oh, sorry, these are series. Lost 0-2 in the wild card series.
Find me a win.
Lost.
Just keep going until you find a win.
How far
back
2004, they beat the Yankees in one game. They lost the ALDS 3-1.
Okay, give me the last playoff series win.
Ooh, 2002 ALDS against the Oakland A's.
They won.
Yeah, they won 3-2. Wow. So it wasn't a blowout. It was a 3-2.
That's a win.
Yeah. So, lost 2 games to the Astros last year. Lost all 3 games to the Yankees the year before that. 2017, they lost the AL wildcard game. That was before they did the wildcard series. They lost 8-4. 2010 and 2009 were both 0-3 to the Yankees. Because they just can't do it.
No.
The year
now it's become guaranteed. It's a mental thing now.
Yeah, no. 2006, 0-3 to the A's. 2003 and 2004 were both 1-3 to the Yankees.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I will make one more bold prediction in favor of my team before moving on to football real quick, and that's the Mets will be representing the National League in the World Series this year.
That's fair. Let me give my Mets stuff.
Right.
You gave a little bit of Yankee stuff. I love pretty much everything they did. Frankie Lindor is a problem. They
could have stopped right there.
Yeah.
And I was happy with the offseason.
Dude, he hit that from. So like I think I kind of gave Frankie Lindor like, okay, this guy's good. And then when he hit that grand slam off the Yankees in the ALDS, I think that was didn't they go down 0-2 and the Yankees came back in that series? Was that series or was that a different series?
That was a series that you guys won the series, but I'm pretty sure that was like when everyone put the nail in the coffin on Joe Girardi's job, and it's when he didn't challenge.
One of the series, you remember, Yankees were down 0-2 to the Indians, and they came back and won 3 straight. I don't know if that was that series, but I remember wanting to kill myself at that exact moment. That was misery. He came up, and every Yankee fan on the planet knew that there was one option, there was one possible outcome to the scenario, and that was that Francisco Lindor was going to hit the ball to the moon, and then he did, and then we gave up. They ended up winning. They won the series. They definitely won the series, but at that particular moment was like,
No, and
I
it's
don't
those
understand.
moments, if you look back, so it's basically from 2015 to now, he has the highest WAR of any shortstop in the entire league. And that's fine. It's all well and good. You want to take that for the regular season stats. But seeing those moments, the big grand slam off the Yankees to either tie or come within one run of the
I
game,
think that's
being
hot.
down that many runs, you have the big moment guy.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
he is
So
that dude.
you're against the New York team, you know that he's built for that type of stuff. And then he's going to be a stud defender, be a switch hitter, and be a great clubhouse guy. I'm so ecstatic to have Lindor. What I'm nervous about is we better get those extension talks done. I want it done before we start the regular season. I don't know if it'll happen, but I just don't want to sweat it out. I'm not nervous in the fact that we won't get it done. I just really don't want to sweat the whole thing out with him, Conforto, and the whole nine. But of course I'm going to. But I do want to turn so we don't miss out on it, because I am curious, because there's a lot of different options that your team has. And in football, the New York Jets are in a very peculiar situation with the number 2 overall pick.
They
Not
have
knowing what's going
so
on with
many
Sam
options.
Darnold. There's a lot on the table, and I want to know what you think they're going to do and what you think they should do if they're different.
There are infinite options, infinite possibilities. There are infinite universes where the Jets go in different directions and turn this either into a championship caliber team or just continue to waste away whatever talent they have there, in particular Quinn Williams, because that kid's... Let me tell you, if Robert Saleh puts a piece anywhere on that defense to help Quinn Williams rush the passer, he's going to have 12.5 sacks this year. Bold prediction, guy looked like a freak this year. If you look at some of like the more in-depth statistics, he was like the second best defensive tackle in both run stop and pass rush, just behind Aaron Donald or something along those lines. He was like 2 or 3. He was definitely top 5. But he was in that ballpark in those crazy statistics where like he was like pass rush win percentage. He's like second behind Aaron Donald. Like all these crazy like stats. He was a lunatic.
I'm going to ask one more time though. What are they doing with that number 2 overall pick? Trading? Who are they picking?
Bro, I've been through this 150,000 times since the Jags secured that first pick, dude. It is impossible. There is one out of 100 million scenarios where Trevor Lawrence is there too, and that's the no-brainer. Listen.
Someone's trying to tell me that.
Let me dream. Yeah.
Someone's trying to tell me that they'll take Fields because he knows Fields.
Urban Meyer. There was an opportunity if Justin Fields had come out and just smoked everybody in the college football playoffs, and like very clearly was just the best player on the field at all moments. He wasn't.
He almost against Clemson.
It's gonna be Trevor Lawrence at 1, so that leaves everybody else at 2. I think so. For
Can we get off the Zach Wilson thing though? Can we please get off the Zach Wilson thing though? Because I'm really sick of hearing it. Please don't tell me you're a Zach Wilson truther where the Jets are taking Zach Wilson.
No. I'm open to a lot of possibilities. I think if they truly think Zach Wilson's the guy, like fucking go for it, right? I don't think you can't rule him out.
Zach Wilson, what I know, and how everybody's been looked at in this draft, will be there if you trade down.
Yeah, probably.
So if you're looking at Zach Wilson, I know the whole premise thing is if you have your guy, don't miss out on him, just go get him. I understand that. But you have the number 2 overall pick, not the number 6. I mean, not even the number 4, whatever like that. Number 2 overall pick. If you even think that your guy's going to be there, and he already to me seems like a gamble to me. Again, I'm not scattering anything like that. You could trade down and get away with it. What about the offensive tackle from Oregon?
All right. So I've done there is an app for you to do mock draft prediction stuff, and I've been doing that a ton. And like I said, in every situation except one out of the 100 million I've done, Trevor Lawrence was gone at 1. I've done everything. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I really don't.
And that was the point I was going to make too. Is the Jets are in such a good situation where it's like you trade down, you're getting a million things for it. You pick your guy, you got your guy. You take your tackle. Now get this. You take your tackle of what should be for 10 years, right?
Yeah, there,
You
and
got your
then
guy.
you kick Mekhi Becton to the right. You don't even. There's no question.
Right. You put Becton to the right. You get your guy. You either run with Sam and find out he is the guy and you extend him and everything's all well and good. Or the next guy you do put in place is behind a solid line that he actually
Yeah,
gets to show his
I
ability. I don't see a problem with it. As a Giant fan, I've been waiting for an offensive line since
yeah.
Eli Manning won the second
My
Super Bowl.
my biggest thing is I think they can trade down and still. I don't think so. All right, so we've been talking about Penei Sewell for a year now as that guy, and nothing. He sat out part of the season or the whole season. I don't remember. Everybody just he's that dude. He's mean. He's a problem. He can pass protect. He's got footwork. He's got technique. Everything's there, right? He's that dude. He is probably the if Trevor Lawrence is the best prospect, Sewell is the second best prospect, right? So there's that. That's an option, right? This draft has a lot of good interior linemen that you can get late. And I think that is probably the option the Jets go with. Joe Douglas built the offensive line that won the Eagles a Super Bowl. And everybody shit on the Jets for the Mekhi Becton pick at whatever it was, 11 last year. And he came out and week one, there were highlights of him lifting up 300-pound human beings and tossing them across the field and then doing it again to whoever else was in the secondary. Like he was a freak.
Tried killing him by starting an injury, and same thing with Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I swear,
Adam,
I think
Adam
that dude
should be banned from New York for that.
I think that dude was sent by Miami to just try to destroy you guys.
Yeah, probably.
The
That
inside
sounds
out. Get your stars pissed. Kill your young talent. Like he done everything. He lose, but not
actually
out.
the worst. The worst, bro.
No, he did everything bad you possibly do.
So obviously like Sewell would be that guy, right? But I think there's a lot of depth in this draft at offensive lineman, and I trust that Joe Douglas, regardless of where he takes them, is gonna get the right guys. Because he built that Eagles line. Everybody shit on the Mekhi Becton pick. Mekhi Becton looks really, really good. And obviously towards the end of the season he wasn't healthy, so he looked worse. But when he was healthy, he was a freak. And as long as we gotta capitalize while he's this good, because 6'7", 380 isn't gonna be that good forever. He's gonna have problems moving at some point. I'm not gonna deny that. So you got that dude in place. If they can get guys later in like late first, because we have the Seattle first round pick and we have the second pick in the second round draft. We have 34. If you can get a guy there, I think that's something that they'll probably go with, because George Fant was more than a serviceable right tackle. He was a good to above average right tackle.
One thing you didn't bring up as a possibility at all whatsoever is trading some sort of crazy package for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Do you not believe that is actually?
All right, so I'm gonna get to that after I talk about what the options are with the second pick, right? So I think the second pick, you get to Sewell as an option. I think trading back is probably the best option, because I think you could trade back 2 or 3 times and still be at like 11 or 12, and you would get in the mocks that I was doing. I was picking up 2 seconds and a first next year and 2 firsts, and just the amount of draft capital that they could pick up for trading back. Think about a team, trade back 2. If you trade back 2 to 8. Carolina gives you a haul. They give you everything. I mean, if you really wanted to, Christian McCaffrey is on the block. If you really wanted to, I guarantee you they would swap, give you CMC and something else. Yes, 100%.
But there's a reason why. Yeah, but they're saying that they're a good front runner or a big team to make a push for Deshaun Watson because they have the
CMC is in that trade.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
I'm saying they wouldn't be going for your pick. They'd be going for Deshaun Watson.
What do you do as the Houston Texans if you trade for a running back 2 years in a row? Right? Because they traded D-Hop for David Johnson, and now they trade for the CMC. It's like what? Like
every fan is already on the watch They're already
they left
right now.
They're just they're just waiting for
all
JJ Watt to make his announcement to figure out their new team.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
it's
So Jets
fan right now.
I'm a big fan of trade back and give Sam pieces. Wide receiver is a problem in this. Wide receiver in this draft is crazy deep. Like wide receivers are everywhere in this draft, and you got 3 really good ones at the start in Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith won the Heisman. I don't know how I forgot him, and Jalen Waddle. I'm not as high on Jalen Waddle, but Devonta Smith and Jamar Chase are going to be big issues. People are not going to be able to cover those guys. So if you could trade back with the Panthers to 8 and pick up a first next year and a second this year or something along those lines, they trade up 6 spots because that's what the value is in the top of that draft. Something along those lines.
I'm excited.
You take a Jamar Chase or a Devonta Smith in the first, and then late first with the Seattle pick at 23, you take an offensive lineman, and then you build around Sam and see. Somebody tweeted. Dan, I don't know if you follow Dan Orlovsky, the ex-quarterback, on Twitter.
I think so.
That guy loves Sam Darnold more than I loved Sam Darnold after the Jets took him. That guy was talking about he's played with a bottom 5 run game, a bottom 5 offensive line, bottom 5 offensive weapons, and a bottom 10 defense for his whole career. Like, you got to give him at least a chance, right?
It's just like Daniel Jones is the reason why I'm not giving up on him, or to bring up the stats to say, oh, he regressed or he's not the guy. How do you evaluate it? And this goes for both the quarterbacks. How do you honestly evaluate a guy when they were given absolute dog shit from day one?
Yep.
Daniel Jones came in with one of the worst offensive lines in football, a horrific defense where he was throwing 4 touchdowns, no interception, 300-plus yards, walking away with a giant L. Pun intended, especially against your team in 2019. He threw 4 touchdowns, lost. And obviously had his shortcomings with turning the ball over, obviously. But then goes into this year with the offense getting even worse. Now you're adding play calling on top of it. And you want to sit there and really make, the decision on the kid and say, nah, he ain't the guy. Even though we've seen the talent. I mean, you'd be lying to yourself not to see the talent. That goes for Sam, too. I watched him perform well. So I like to make fun of him, like he's going go from the field, but he's got the talent. You cannot make a real evaluation for them. So if your clock is ticking with Sam, ours, we still have the time to make the evaluation.
I think Sam is the same age as Danny Dimes.
What?
I think Sam is the same age as Danny Dimes.
No, I'm talking about contract-wise.
Oh yeah, no, we've already passed that point. We're screwed.
Decision to plan, get rid of them.
Yeah. So I think you build you trade back, you build. Now comes the alternative, Deshaun Watson, right? That's the ultimate wild card. Deshaun Watson's a freak. He does all the things. I think they can get away with trading away something like both Seattle picks, a 2, and Sam Darnold, and a 2, like probably both Seattle picks.
And the 2.
Both Seattle picks. So Seattle's first this year, Seattle's first next year, because we have both of those. A 2 this year.
And your pick.
A 2 this year, Sam Darnold, and end up with Deshaun Watson. I feel like that might be enough.
There's no world you don't get rid of your first overall pick this year, that you don't give up the first overall pick this year.
I don't think
for the Jets.
I don't think they can afford to do that. I think that
the Texans are never taking that phone call. They're never taking that phone call.
They're going to take the phone call. B, they listen. If they think that's not enough value, they'll laugh it out of the room. I don't care. That I can't warrant giving away 3 and 2 other late firsts and like a second and Sam Darnold. Because there's been rumors that Sam Darnold's value is like a 1 or between a 1 and a 3. I'd like to assume it's probably like a 2 or a 3.
Way 2.
Yeah, so a 2 or a
3. The trade to make is the number 2 overall pick, the Seattle first round pick, and the Seattle first round pick next year with Sam. That's the trade. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Accept or don't accept. The only thing that the Texans would, kick back with is, oh no, we're not sold on Sam, and we don't want to take the risk, whatever. Unless they're going to go with Sam and draft a quarterback this year and have them compete, like that gives them the options. I was thinking Miami was in position to make a trade because Miami has their pick, which is one pick behind yours. Yep. They have Tua that they can just gamble with for years before making a decision on him, or they can just pick another guy
or something, right?
Yeah, and they obviously have the money that they can handle Deshaun Watson. And they just had 10-win, 11-win playoff or almost playoff teams. That if you put him on that offense with that defense, they make a run. I think that Miami is dumb to say they're fully sold on Tua, not to make that call to Deshaun Watson. But yeah. I don't know what really gets it done. What are we doing on time right
now? 50 minutes. We could do a little bit more. Finish off Jets, go to Giants a little bit, and then probably.
Well, Giants.
Yeah,
with the Giants,
let me finish the Deshaun Watson conversation here. I think obviously you make the trade for Deshaun Watson, instantly the team is infinitely better, right? It's not a question.
Yeah. Even though he won 4 games.
The problem is, shut up, bro. The problem there is, what do you do? So like Robert Saleh makes the defense way better, right? Without a question, Robert Saleh's defense is infinitely better.
I'm not sold on the coordinator.
What do they do at receiver? Is my problem when you trade for Deshaun Watson. That's what's holding me back from really wanting a Deshaun Watson trade. Would I if they made the trade tomorrow? Am I going to be mad? No, of course not. I got Deshaun Watson.
But you have a lot of money.
Yeah, no, we have. Yeah, but we also have to handle I think Deshaun Watson's cap hit next year is $40 million. If I'm not wrong.
It probably is. But you guys have.
We have 76.
You have the second highest. I think you have the second highest.
It's like $76 million. Yeah, we're second.
Yeah, so you're definitely gonna walk away with trying to get one of these wide receivers.
I've been preaching that if they trade for Deshaun Watson, what they need to do is they need to get on a 3-way or a 4-way call and call up Allen Robinson and Deshaun Watson and JJ Watt at the same time. And, hey, listen, we're gonna trade all these picks for Deshaun, right? Listen, Deshaun, you're coming here. Who do you want, right? Him and Allen Robinson very clearly have been, interacting on Twitter. I would assume they want to play. I would assume they want to play together, right? So, all right, listen, Allen, you sign. We're gonna trade for Deshaun. You sign the contract the next day. JJ Watt, we need a pass rush. You and Quinnen Williams team up, dynamic duo. Boom, right?
Yeah, for all 7 games.
But those are those caliber players are what the Jets need in order to be competitive with Deshaun Watson, and that's why just trading for Deshaun Watson, even as transcendent a talent as he is not my number one option. My favorite play is keep the pick, trade it back, build up, let Joe Douglas build a fortress at offensive line, an impenetrable the wall of China, and have it sit there and give whoever my quarterback in the future is 5.5 seconds every snap, that kind of thing, give my running back a line to run through instead of a brick wall to run into, because that's what's been there. I think that's the best play. For me, and I'm sure you're probably thinking something similar about the Giants, because God, those lines were bad for quite some time.
The lines are terrible, but honestly, so you have a lot of Giants fans that are arguing with us saying there's no price that the Texans basically asked for pick-wise, draft capital, all that would be too high of a price to go get to Deshaun Watson. We watched what happens to Deshaun Watson if he's on an absolute horrendous team that can't put the right pieces around him. One of the best quarterbacks, let's call him top 5 from the talent perspective, in the league, walks away with a 4-win season. And they want to take every asset that we would try to have over the next literally 4 years, because that was where the mock, trades were coming up, and say that was worth it to trade it away, get nothing in first rounds for the next 4 years, turn us into the Rams without having a Super Bowl caliber team.
Yeah.
Basically turn us into the Texans, get him here and then not give him any talent around him and say that was a good move, and put him behind one of the worst offensive lines in football. It makes no sense at all. So we're really not in the running for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And I almost don't even want to entertain that. Yep. For the Giants, I got to be honest with you, I don't even know what I want us to pick, and that's not in the negative. It's actually in the I think we can't lose. in any pick in the first round.
Where do they pick?
We get Kyle Pitts. This guy everyone's talking about is supposed to be a studded tight end. We're saying they want to move him wide receiver, but stud tight end. Do I have PTSD of taking Evan Ingram in the first round? Absolutely. Actually makes me sweat when people tell me to take a tight end in the first round. But I don't think we lose. You're making your offense better. Our offense was atrocious. We take one of the wide receivers. The three studs of Waddle, Devonta Smith, or Jamar Chase. If any of them happens to be there, I'm walking away happy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If we get a stud tackle situation where we were so bad in so many ways on offense, then in my opinion, you can't go wrong unless, of course, he makes a defensive pick that I disagree with. So, which you might take a defense tackle. My concern is really what we're doing in free agency because the money's getting tight. You got people, Leo's got to get paid.
That's the biggest thing about the Jets is that they have a cap.
Thompson's got to get paid. Yeah. I think you tag Leo and worry about it next year. The issue is that you have a lot of Giants fans who hate Dave Gettleman, so no matter what he does, it's an issue. Like, we shouldn't have traded for Leo. Now we shouldn't have traded for Leo if we're not going to give him an extension. But now if we give him an extension, it's too much money. There's no winning. For me, I think there is a way we walk away with keeping him. You got to get, I think, a secondary market type wide receiver. So get out of the Allen Robinson. What's that?
So I think they got the right price for Leo. I think at the time the Jets had nothing there, and they took what they could get. And I think the Giants, regardless of what they do, what did you give up? A 3 and some garbage?
Well, 3 and 4, right?
Yeah. Why are you complaining about giving up a 3rd and a 4th for a guy that just gave you what? Did he get double digits this year?
I am not complaining. He had 11.5 sacks.
Yeah.
He pressured.
So how is a 3rd and a 4th too much for 11.5 sacks? There's no way. That's perfectly fine.
I'm complaining.
Yeah.
Continue. Yeah, it's exciting. All good things in my book, though, for my teams, especially the New York Knicks. But Giants, Mets. I like what the Jets situation is in. Yankees are obviously in these studs.
Yeah.
So it should be pretty exciting.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty. I'm definitely pretty happy. What are some of the biggest free agent moves do you think happen in the NFL? Like, have you looked into any of the big name free agents? Have you looked at any of the landing spots? Like, what do you think? Is there something that comes out of the blue that you think shows up?
I mean, there's always the come out of the blue type signings. I'm always focused, obviously, on the Giants. So, like I said, the secondary market wide receivers. There's interest of Giants and Jets for Juju Smith-Schuster. And I don't know if any of our fan bases got him.
Why?
So I don't know if either one of our fan bases want it, but they're calling on him.
It should tell
the
you
quarterbacks.
There
might be what
no
it seems
wide
like there's
receivers, and I don't want Juju
quarterback changes. Yeah,
what was that? I'm sorry.
No, but apparently there's going to be like 32 quarterback changes this year.
Yeah, no, every team in the league that didn't have a top 5 quarterback is making a quarterback change this year. That's how that works.
Exactly.
Actually, some of the teams in the top 5, because Deshaun Watson's moving too.
Yep. Oh yeah. I think that's going to be crazy. It's going to be reckless with what quarterbacks end up where. Chicago's always in on a quarterback because as long as you have Mitch on your team, you're always in the running to look for a new quarterback.
That team's special.
You got Jacksonville obviously drafting with that, but Miami, are they sold on Tua? Are the Jets sold on Sam Darnold? You have enough Giants fans trying to convince people they're not sold on Daniel Jones. I think that's ridiculous. Nothing to look into. What is Washington doing? What is Carolina doing? What are the Vikings doing? It's a lot.
And there are teams that are. This is the worst part. There are teams that are a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl team. Like, I think Washington. If Washington gets, they don't. I don't think they need a world beater at quarterback. I think that defense is a problem, and I am a huge fan of the way that team, the way that whole defense operates. That team is an issue if they have anybody competent at quarterback. They don't need a Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. They need a game manager, and they can be a Super Bowl contender. I think there's a couple teams like that.
Yeah, but where are they getting their guy? Because
that's obviously the issue.
Who's on the block? Yeah, like who's on the block that, all right, we're not looking for the big home run guy, but who's on the block that would end up fitting that criteria? Because the Bears looking to change, there's actually no outlet. Like I don't see a way that Washington makes that jump, and that's why I think Washington's looking quarterback in this draft. It may just have to straight up be we got to find our guy, not get it through from another team. But they do have a good defense. They won our division at 7 games
Chase Young.
with a revolving door at quarterback for the most part because of injuries and all that stuff. We will see. I'm just glad the Eagles are going to be terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
They're in a rough. They're in. How much of Carson Wentz contract did they eat? Are they still in Carson Wentz cap hell?
Yeah, and at least for this year.
It's funny because like as much credit as I gave Joe Douglas before for building that offensive line to the point it was, they then did absolutely nothing with it. So all 5 pieces are withering away at the same time, and whoever is quarterback there needs to be a super athlete to avoid sacks. It's really bad.
They're in bad shape, and I'm definitely here for it. So I don't really care.
My big ones. I heard a lot of Joe Thuney, however you say his name, the guard. If the Jets get a guy like him, huge. That's a huge piece because their guards were usually it's a problem at tackle. I felt like the Jets tackles were okay this year. Their guards were awful, so bad. It's incredible. They were atrocious.
Yeah, Will Hernandez took a step back for us too, and which is very disheartening.
He got benched or something at some point, or was there because my boss is a Giants fan.
No,
he was telling me that there was somebody else that was, or they were like at least splitting snaps with somebody else.
Yeah, no, he got benched. I mean, like it's tough. It's definitely tough because I was rooting for him. I thought he was going to be a stud.
He came out of wherever he came out of as like a kind of raw guy, right? Where he was a big mauler, but he needed to work on his technique kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the things that are getting me a little nervous because you're using some of these early picks on these guys that are supposed to be, studs like Andrew Thomas. And it's making me nervous because I'm not saying I didn't see it with some of them. I definitely see the talent. I see the progress too, but I don't know. I think you see some of these like guys who hit a home run right out of the gate, and you start to get spoiled, not from your own team, but seeing what with other teams. I mean, I'm not saying Beck is like this home run guy, yet he had a good showing right out the gate. Works over at
he's going to be a Patrick Mahomes coming in, sitting a year, coming in and throwing 50 touchdowns.
Yeah, or like Big Q on the offensive. Like there's some guys that they just get them and they hit exactly how they're supposed to hit right out of day one. And I think because you see that around the league, you get so impatient with your own team. And people are doing that with quarterbacks. Like you just said, Patrick Mahomes came out, whatever. So they're looking at our quarterback saying, this guy didn't go to a Super Bowl in year 2. Get him out of here. No, guys, we got them early on like that because we sucked. The organization sucked to be in the position that we were. So that means it's going to take a little bit,
I feel like there are teams. There's teams that are in that situation where they get lucky and they get good that way, and there are other teams that take that while to build. And there's you're not going to hit a home run every pick. It's never going to happen. But when you hit 90% of the time or whatever it is, and you're able to build those teams, like you're gonna end up being good. You have to. You can't. Not every team is going to be the team that instantly gets better. There's going to be the teams. Yeah. I think the Jets and the Giants are both in a spot where if they build properly, they will get to that point. And I think the Jets definitely made the right decisions picking up Joe Douglas as their GM and then moving to Robert Saleh as head coach, or quite frankly, anybody except Adam Gase at head coach. And I think the Giants are in a similar spot where it seemed like everything you heard out of the Giants camp was, building the culture and building the culture and building the culture and changing the culture, and it's if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Like, what's the difference if we're gonna win a Super Bowl this year or we're gonna win a Super Bowl 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now? I'm gonna take the other way. I haven't seen a Super Bowl my whole life. We made two AFC Championship games and we choked both of them.
But the problem isn't, oh, when are we going to see a Super Bowl? The problem is, okay, how many years do we go before changing course? And that's
Yeah, it
the
is
issue
tough.
that now, where it's like, the problem is, you're right. Like, say right now the Giants are let's call it 3 years away from winning
And
a
then
Super
2
Bowl.
years
But
from
this is
now,
on the
you're
current trajectory. Are the ownership and fan base, obviously, that are fueling it, going to hold the patience that's necessary in order to get to that area before fire Dave Gettleman, move on from Daniel Jones? That's the problem with, we come up with these fake timelines because it all comes out of the patience. It's, you've been in GM for 3 years. Why haven't you finished this rebuild yet? Or, you've been in the GM for 3 years. Why didn't you take this talent and get a Super Bowl? It doesn't mean that in this parallel universe that if they didn't stick to this line, they don't eventually get there. It's the fact that, will the organization and fans have the patience to let that happen? And with the Giants, we're seeing it's TikTok. Not that we can make the decisions, but to them, it's Dave Gettleman better make us a 12-win Super Bowl caliber team this year, or he's gone. Or Daniel Jones better turn the corner, be a 35-plus touchdown, all this stuff now, or he's done. And realistically, it may not be something as simple as that, but again, they get spoiled from other teams. They get impatient because they see other teams do it, and that's the end. They don't pay attention to the teams that don't do it, and use them as examples. Yeah. But they'll pick and choose. I still want to bring the Browns as an example. The Browns have been rebuilding for 20 years.
The Browns made the playoffs in 2001, and then what did they pick first overall 4 years in a row?
Yeah,
they didn't get better overnight. They got better with 4 consecutive first overall picks. You got Baker Mayfield being good, and that they didn't pay anybody until they had a chance. And now they had infinite money, infinite cap space. They were using the real life infinite money glitch, and they put themselves in a spot where, after they had put together a cornerstone defensive end in Myles Garrett and a guy who is good enough to win a Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield's not a world beater, but he's good enough to win a Super Bowl.
But this is what I'm saying, is like, everyone's trying to pat them on the back. They still might have not gotten the guy first number 1 overall in that draft, and that might be, like, at the end of the day, when we let this really brew up, might be the reason why they don't win a Super Bowl. And you want to use them as an example of, well, this is how fast it's supposed to be. They got handed on a silver platter. Pick whoever you want at any point in time, because you guys got the first on the clock, and they still might have messed it up. So please don't use them as an example. And then you want to use the Colts as an example. They got hit out of left field with the whole Andrew Luck thing. People need to realize they were only a top pick for Big Q in the first place because Andrew Luck's spleen exploded. His knee was in his rib cage, and his head was facing backwards the years before, and that's why they were picking high. They actually did have a talented team. So they had circumstance to put them in that high pick. So people try to say, oh, in 2018, they were, from a talent perspective, they were not that bad. So they got that top pick. Then Andrew Luck just said, peace, I'm out, and never playing football again. And they got hit pretty hard. But you still had a good team in place. That's why it was easy to plug in a veteran quarterback, and you went to the places that you went.
Yeah, it was not one pick that made it that good. Like that. It was a series of second, third, and fourth round picks that hit hard, that turned that team into a good team. It was not 2018 they were bad, 2019 they were good. Like, look at that. No, it was, they had built a solid foundation in that whole timeline where Darius Leonard is they laughed the Colts off the stage. Darius Leonard's the second best linebacker in the league right now. Like, those kind of picks,
and he was right as rookie.
That's what I'm saying. They laughed the Colts off the stage when they picked Darius Leonard, and Darius Leonard is now a top 5 linebacker in the league, inarguably. You can't. There's no 5 linebackers you can put ahead of Darius Leonard. The guy is a freak. He doesn't miss a tackle. He picks the ball off. You can't ask for anything more than what Darius Leonard gives you. Those kind of players in the second, third, and fourth round over the course of 3 or 4 years built that Colts team. It wasn't just this one decision. No, their team got good over the course of a bunch of years. If Andrew Luck is alive, if they didn't put him out there and throw him into a pit, throw him into a bottomless pit, they would have been good.
The bottom line is, it takes patience. These other organizations don't run with the New York impatience, and I get it. And listen, it's going to come down to either you do. I think maybe that's what the Jets have always dealt with in the past. I don't always pay attention when it ends up being their undoing, but you don't stick to a certain script for too long, for long enough.
Nope.
The Giants might have to do it here and stick to the script until we've seen improvement. So let it work out. And at the end of the day, if you want to say, oh, it took Gettleman too long, well, at the end of the day, if it results in us being in a Super Bowl with a chance to win a championship, I don't care if it took whatever amount of years. Your timelines are fake. It's all about just getting your team better. That's
Yep.
it.
That's all that matters. Listen, if I'm gonna sit here
But
and we're gonna build for the next 6, and it's gonna give me a Super Bowl, I don't care. Give me the Super Bowl.
On that note, let's try to wrap it up.
Yeah,
It's
it's getting
not a
late.
bad first episode. Not a bad first episode. Got a lot off the noodle, but we got a lot more to deal with. We're gonna try to take guests. We'll try to get texts coming in. We'll take suggestions for topics. We still got a whole list to go to.
Yeah, I mean, what do we
not
get
bad
through here? Mainly the Pujols thing. We kind of skipped over some stuff. Giants, Jets, Mets, Yankees. We did pretty well. Mariners president is an idiot was a big one. That was my favorite one. That guy's a moron.
And we could dive deeper into that one because there's still decades of just failure. But
yeah, there's
no,
if anyone wants to look it up, I want to say it was John Boyce who did a video on like the history, like a super in-depth history of the Seattle Mariners. Somebody did a YouTube video on that. Bad. They're bad. That's what it comes down to. We could dive more in depth next week or something. But bad.
Next
bad.
time. There's a few other things I want to dive into. But it's good. Good start. Appreciate for anybody who's following along. And hopefully you keep tuning in.
Yeah, you're gonna just be prepared for a lot of banter, a lot of nonsense. You're gonna see us go way off the wagon. We've already done it in this episode. And you're definitely gonna hear some trash takes.
Yeah. I can't wait for when the seasons actually get started. So
yeah,
but
give me some April. Let me see one game, and I'm predicting the Yankees to the World Series.
All right. Well, see you next time.
Yes, sir.